Alright, greetings everybody, and here we are. Time to start doing some reviews, and we're gonna be starting not with the cute guy, but with the gotcha guy. Because goddamn, I have a little bit of a hankering for evil, and we're gonna get right to it. So, for this video, we're gonna switch out, and just so we know, the friend unit has actually not shown up at this point. I have been trying to get him to show up, and he's just not showing up on the first day. I always get confused whether the friend unit shows up at this point or on midnight updates, and it just never sticks in my mind. But we're going to be talking about Zoma today, and I don't have anything super prepared. I'm probably going to do a little bit more of a review for him later with a little bit more of a just more focused on a showcase, and today we're just going to be talking about the unit. That's okay because the unit is real good. Alright, so to start off with the just some memes in this video, we want to talk a little bit about that limit burst because of course fire and an ice limit burst, know it very well by this point everybody. So but they're actually like are ice magic crystals, so it's fine. I actually really like the flavor of this summon, just because, or of his limit burst, just because it's very demonic, but at the same time still stays true to his element. And I'm just going to say my really quick impressions right at the start. Zoma, absolutely insane kit. TMR, not so much. Alright, so what is this? He is a ice elemented 90 cost limited character with 3 jobs: Demon Lord as his primary, Guru or Devout, I do believe, as secondary, and Green Mage as tertiary. And Green Mage, where I normally would consider it a bit of a lagger, this time I'm going to say that it's maybe a bit of a bragger, because it just ended up getting buffed, and that will help sell this unit. Overall, as you can see, very early days for my version of this unit, but I still think we can get a very clear picture. So let's start with the thing that I said was bad, which is, or maybe bad is a little cruel, mediocre is probably a much more accurate thing, and it makes sense. A lot of the times we see really good units with really just TMRs, and sometimes we see really units with some really great TMRs. So this is definitely one of those two. But let's take a look. So the Trust Mastery, as you can see here, some accuracy, some HP, some magic, and defense. None of these really stand out as being that incredible. I know it's an accessory, but I feel like it's just kind of hodgepodge mishmash between the two. I really would have loved to see it much higher on this or much higher on this, given what current matchups look like, and more accuracy would have really sold this TM. As for the skill itself, it is a AoE party buff, which is not a bad thing, but what we're effectively getting here is piercing, strike, missile resistance at 15%, and it's just not good enough. It's, well, it is 3 damage types, and it can give it to other units too. This just can be dispelled so incredibly easily, and it's not really the major damage types that I'm worried about here. Missile is arguably the most valuable, depending on what future units look like, but I just find this so whatever. So lots of units have Dispel, lots of top units have Dispel, but this TMR just whatever. As for his master ability, we are looking at, of course, the boost for allies, but he's also getting a 25% magic boost to himself, which is good because that's where his true focus lies, on just dealing a lot of damage. But as well, we're going to see a little bit that his kit has a little bit more. As for initial resistances, good across the board. I'm happy here. I mean, piercing and strike is a fair trade-off for magic, shooting, and slash, 3 major types of damage that I would be more scared of this unit potentially up against. And it's good. It's a good start and a good base and foundation. As for the blindness, I don't really care too much about that so much, but stop resistance and instant death are both pretty cool in terms of flavor and also just really, I think, good status ailment protection, or status ailments that it kind of needs to worry about. There is Ayala's TMR, which is very good against some of the nastier status effects out there, such as Charm. But this feels pretty good with where Ice is currently. And since I've used Ice a fair bit lately, I feel pretty confident in that assertion. Now, let's talk about counters first. And normally I would not talk about counters, but this one is just so notable. He does have Devout, which does counter damage with healing, and he does have Green Mage, which is a chance to counter all damage with a Dispel kind of thing. But the Dispel for Green Mage, in terms of a counter, has never been great. It just has too short of range, it doesn't really feel that advanced. We'll say hello to the upgrade. Incredible Rage on this thing, 30% chance to counter, with a Dispel of all buffs for target, haste for the target, physic and magical barriers for the target, so it's canceling all of that for your enemy who was unlucky enough to get hit by this counter. But then he also dispels all debuffs for himself. This is Green Mage to the next level, 100%, and I gotta say, wow, is this strong. This is one of my favorite counters in the entire game. It does so much. Now, there are counter blocks out there. They do exist, and they are real, and they can hurt you. But I still think that this is an incredible thing to see on a unit, and I cannot wait for more units in the future to potentially get this as well. Now, let's go into supports. So for Green Mage, he has the debuff and magic resistance increase, and also the buff duration and debuff duration. Okay. As for Devout, is the increased defense and spirit for decreasing magic attack. It's not really that much of a cost for him. You are getting a fair amount of defense and spirit of 15 apiece, and magic attack wise, this guy will still be really strong. So building a fairly defensive mage here kind of feels like Golbez a little bit. That should get some people interested. But without a doubt, the two that I want to use the most are these two. This one, a jump increase as well as increasing all attack resistance by 15% for 3 turns for himself. Now he is a long-range character, but this goes a long way to making him even more survivable, because it's everything. It's not just on his TMR, it's all of it. So the resistances you initially saw can just be popped up by 15% a piece. Pretty sweet, actually. And this one, HP increase and spirit penetration of 40. I mean, okay, alright. HP and spirit, I mean, this is looking like a survivable character, but the big thing is into his EX, this actually gets improved, and improved in a big way. If his HP falls below a certain percentage, while it is listed on Wotv Calc as being, I think it's listed as being 20%, it does say in here that it is actually 50%, so I'm not sure who is at fault here. But the point with a character who has any kind of survivability on them, for them to have this thing which we've seen be effective on Leela and be effective on Snow is an incredibly powerful thing for a character that has a lot of potential survivability. So just counters and supports, I'm already really in favor of this character. Let's talk about Green Mage. Because Green Mage did get a buff, and I'm just going to show it a little bit here. Again, this is a little bit at odds what I saw in my shell video, but I still think we're going to take a look at this. So decreasing ice resistance is very strong, especially on an ice elemental team with Barris or Snow or any combination of characters. This is just good. Decent range, not amazing. Does have few damage attacks, specifically weak, the one that just got upgraded to be a fairly AoE with a high damage capability with a high damage character, and decreases all elemental resistance. This character could potentially work with other elements, but will really find a home in it. Can also increase agility for an ally, which is great. I've tested that out myself, and it works really well with our range girls in the ice element. But decreasing spirit and defense through this upgrade with a large AoE of 40 apiece for 3 turns is not to be scoffed at. That's a pretty big debuff, and goes to show that Green Mage has come a long way. As for Devout, Devout, he does have the increased defense and spirit for allies and increased healing power, which is kind of interesting because he does have some healing abilities. Not only like just in Guru, but in other places as well. AoE resistance, slash resistance, restore HP for a single target, and increase the ice attack and decrease skill activation time. If he did have any skill activation, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, and he does have some skills that do have casting time. So honestly, in terms of what you want to run him as a sub job, hold that thought. Main job does have a big heal for an ally. This has no casting time on it, so this is pretty interesting. It just is a question whether his AI would ever use it on auto. As for the second one, decrease move and 3-turn chance for immobilize as well. I honestly think it's quite good, but I would recommend either Guru or Green Mage. Green Mage does give him a fair amount of extra firepower, and him missing Dispel from Green Mage is not any kind of a bad thing given the way his counter works. As for Devout, on the other hand, Devout, which does have some buffs and whatnot, if his AI is potentially okay with running these kind of buffs and using them, this could just be really, really, really good. But I like either one of these. I could see either a case for either of these. I'm personally thinking a little more Green Mage because the buffs and the damage capability that it is able to turn out right now is really strong. But if you were to put them on an iced range team, just throwing Devout in there and him buffing up Ayala or Eliza to ensure their damage might be reason enough to run this, and then his casting time just gets improved by ipso facto. Alright, and that brings us to the main part of his kit, and man is there a lot also to like here. So first of all, we have this attack, which his basic attack is just this line AoE, which is kind of fun, but also has the sleep status effect on it. You have a very good chance he'll be able to get that off. Next ability is his self buff, which gives him a 40% magic increase, accuracy by 20, which is good for dealing with evasion character, and with a combination of certain equipment, probably will be enough to just get there, because Ice does have a lot of sources of accuracy through vision cards and equipment. But also grants him the following effect. Upon hit, he can dispel, shell, or haste. Pretty big for dealing with enemies that he wants to deal with, doesn't care about much for protect and whatnot, but this is a dispel effect even on his main kit, and it is. Next, we're just going to start getting into some of the crazier stuff in his kit. This one is the one we already knew about. Reduces physical damage. It is only a 35%, but given how strong he is and his extra sources of defense and spirit increases, probably not so bad that his barrier is a little bit more on the modest side, because it also gives him and other allies an HP increase by 20% for 3 turns, which is not bad. I mean, it increases and restores that HP, so it's just generally good for, a strong tank like Snow or Agrias and a ton of other characters. But grants the following effect for allies. Bravery decrease of 20 for 3 turns. That's a brand new status effect, and we knew that bravery, he did have a bravery decreaser in his kit. 20 is a huge amount of bravery to decrease and could be really interesting. Now, this decrease is not permanent. It is removed after the battle is over, because otherwise, yuck. But really interested to see how this affects, and boy, do I gotta find a boss I can potentially beat to a pulp with this, just to kind of see what he can do. Next up is this one, large AoE with a 220 modifier, so a huge modifier on this. 25% chance to inflict frostbite, which of course we all know what frostbite does, stops AP generation and removes AP per turn. But this ability actually does get improved into his EX to not only do everything that we just said, but also decreases AP for the targets that are hit by 25. So not only do you have a really good chance of getting frostbitten, removing AP, but the ability itself also removes a large chunk of AP, and you have a good chance of getting it because this is going to be a high faith character. This is really, really, really scary. This thing is just insanely strong, and frostbite resistance might become just way more necessary for going up. As for his job level 25 ability, long range, 30 spirit debuff for the target before this attack hits, but it does last for 3 turns. 200% modifier, non-elemental, so don't have to worry about elemental resistance on this one, and just absorbs 30% of the damage done. This is another source of healing in his kit, and with either Guru or potentially with Green Mage, he does have ways of increasing the amount of HP he can generate. His kit is so synergistic, and that brings us to the last thing to talk about, his job level 25 ability, which is not only is it a AoE, not only is it spell damage, not only does it not have casting time, the only one in his kit, that main kit that has casting time, is his AoE with frostbite on it. But this thing is a 165 mod with a 50% chance, or a 25% chance to inflict slow on the target, and is a triple hitter. Wow. Am I actually just really happy with the way this unit turned out. So much of his kit is so synergistic and well designed that it feels just good to look at. His damage capabilities, his status effects, he very much has a theme in the way that Golbez had a theme of being a very tanky mage, but this one has a lot to back it up with some way newer stuff in a lot of other units' kits. This is, dare I say, even a pseudo 100 cost unit, because we're just looking at a unit that can give himself a barrier, dispel basically everything off on a counter that it doesn't need to cast, has great supports, and is able of restoring his own HP either through healing spells or just through his own attack, which his AI is definitely going to want. And it's non-elemental too, which means it can get through a lot of the elemental resistance stuff. It's just kind of flare with a heal on it. And then we just get into the other stuff that's really great here. 2 fantastic sub-jobs. Green Mage, which has a lot more damage capability and ice debuffing, as well as defense and spirit debuffing, and effectively a agility boost for allies as well, making him a great support unit for other stuff. And then Guru either strengthens either the main part of his kit or just makes this unit capable of making a very tanky team with the defense and spirit buff for himself and allies. I cannot stress this. This is one of my favorite units of the entire year. The kit feels incredibly synergistic. It feels very well done. He has a good equipment type in that he can use Garvel's fists, for example, or the new Summer Helena's kit, or the Cobalt gloves, which is a 20% spirit penetrate. Now, does he have sources of magic resistance penetration? Not initially in his kit, but it's fine. I think this unit is doing enough in a lot of other different ways that he is absolutely worth it. Strong counter, strong kit, strong synergy, and he can work with basically anything. He can be the support for Eliza and Ilaya that I've been really kind of looking at. He can be an incredible wall to try and get through, and a wall supporter. Like if you just have Snow or Agrius combined with this character, I think it's, and Barris, that's a potential insanely strong Guild War defense team. I think that this character is just like, and if I can bring up a unit that I think, and I do believe that Celeste will still be kind of a counter to him, but you know, there's enough good ice physical units that probably can put up a fight against Celeste. But I do want to bring up Celeste one more time because I think that this is a unit, a collaboration unit, much in the same vein as Celeste or Joker, that is just incredibly powerful and very, very much should be listed as a 100 cost character because it is just way too good here. We're looking at the entire kit, entire package, and I'm sure there are some flaws. There are some, you know, flaws, and it's not a perfect unit, but boy howdy, is Ice just continuing to steamroll this year, and how impressive it's looking. Wow, hot damn. So anyway, I look forward to doing a showcase in the next video, and I'll give some more updated things, but really, really want to stress right now, this character is insanely good, and I don't know, to end the video, take a look at him. Really nice kind of like, a little more color pop to him. He's got a really fun run animation too at 3x speed. But let's head back to the main menu, close this out. And yeah, I think the fact that he has just a really whatever TMR is totally made up for by his entire kit. Yeah, so anyway, let me know what you think of Zoma in the comments below. Of course, you know who is going to be our next guy, from putting like one of the biggest units on the start screen to now one of the smallest. Slime is coming up next. So thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell, and what I don't know, spread this video throughout the interwebs. Go! Perfect evil song too for this video.